I was 8 months pregnant when I opened my front door and realized my marriage had already ended, without a conversation, without a fight, without even the decency of his face. The apartment didn't look robbed. It looked curated, like someone had walked through my life with a checklist and only taken what belonged to him. The couch was gone, the dining table, the TV. Half the hangers in the closet stared back at me like broken ribs. I remember gripping the doorknob so hard my fingers cramped, my belly pulled tight, the baby shifting like she could feel my fear. "Jake?" I called out stupidly, softly, like he might answer from the bedroom. Silence. No footsteps, no "hey babe, surprise," no apology. Just a cold, organized absence. Then I saw it. An envelope on the kitchen counter with my name written in his neat accountant handwriting. The kind of handwriting that used to label our bills and make me feel safe because everything in our life had a place. My hands shook as I tore it open. A letter. Not a note, not a text, not even a voicemail. A letter. It said he had moved out, that he was living with someone else, that he wasn't ready to be a father. And then the line that made my throat close like my body was trying to protect my heart from the words. "I don't want any custody or contact with the baby." I sank to the floor right there, in the space where our couch used to be, and I swear time did something cruel. It slowed down, like the universe wanted me to feel every second of my own abandonment. I reread the name he wrote. Lisa, from his office, 4 months. 4 months. That meant that while I was throwing up until my eyes watered, while my blood pressure climbed, and my doctor told me to stop working, while I lay in bed with my hands on my stomach whispering, "We're going to be okay." My husband was building a second life, quietly, efficiently, like balancing a spreadsheet. And when I tried to call him, the number was disconnected. When I went to his office, he'd quit 2 weeks earlier. He didn't just leave me. He erased the road back to him. That was the moment I understood something terrifying. I wasn't just losing a husband. I was about to find out exactly how many people in my life would watch a pregnant woman drown and call it a lesson. My name is Maria. I'm 28 now. But 4 years ago, I was 24 and convinced I'd done everything right. Jake and I met in college. It wasn't a movie moment. It was a long study session that turned into coffee, that turned into late-night walks, that turned into him knowing exactly how I took my tea and me knowing exactly how he got quiet when he was stressed. After graduation, we got married fast because we were in love, because we were young, because we believed momentum was the same as certainty. He became an accountant at a mid-sized firm. I worked as a nurse at the local hospital, long shifts, aching feet, and the kind of exhaustion that makes you grateful for small kindnesses. And Jake was good at small kindnesses. He used to bring me coffee in bed every morning. He'd brush his thumb across my cheek and say, "You're going to save lives today. I'm proud of you." We lived in a small downtown apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Weekends were hiking trails, new restaurants, cheap dessert, and talking about the future like it was already guaranteed to us. When I found out I was pregnant, I cried in the bathroom with the test in my hand because I was happy and terrified at the same time. Jake came home and I held it out like it was fragile. He stared for a second, then his face split into a grin. "No way," he whispered. He lifted me off the floor and spun me around, and I remember laughing and telling him to stop because I was going to throw up. He started talking about baby names immediately. He said he wanted to teach our kid to play baseball. I believed that meant he was ready. I believed that meant we were solid. What I didn't understand then was how easily a man can perform love when the cost is low, and how quickly he can disappear when love starts asking him to sacrifice comfort. My parents, David and Susan, were never the warm and fuzzy type. My dad is a pharmacist, logical, blunt, proud. My mom is a school administrator, organized, image-conscious, and convinced that tough love is the same thing as strength. We weren't enemies, but closeness wasn't our family language. They raised me with rules. Be responsible, don't rely on anyone, choose wisely. I thought I had. I thought I'd chosen a husband who would stay. The first real crack showed up around month 4. Jake started working late every night. At first, I didn't question it. Accountants have busy seasons. Promotions demand overtime. Ambition comes with deadlines. He'd come home smelling like office air and stale coffee, loosen his tie, and say, "I'm doing this for us." I wanted to be the supportive wife, the understanding wife, the wife who didn't make everything harder. So I nodded. I warmed up dinner. I asked, "Are you okay?" He answered, "Yeah," without looking at me. Then my pregnancy got harder. By month 6, my morning sickness didn't stop in the morning. It lived inside me all day, like my body had turned against itself. My doctor put me on bed rest because my blood pressure was too high. I had to stop working. I remember lying in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, hearing the city noise outside, and feeling useless in a way I'd never felt before. I hate this, I admitted one night, voice thin. I'm not contributing. I'm just here. Jake sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling on his phone. Without lifting his eyes, he said, "My salary can cover it. Stop worrying." It should have comforted me. Instead, it felt like a door closing. Month 7 was worse. He became distant, like he was physically present, but emotionally living somewhere else. He'd eat dinner in silence, barely tasting it. Then he'd go straight to bed. No hand on my belly. No. How's the baby? No. Let's pick out a crib this weekend. When I tried to talk about baby preparations, he'd give short answers. Jake, we need to... Not now. Jake, can we... I'm tired. One night I reached for his hand in bed. He let me hold it for exactly 3 seconds, then pulled away like my touch was inconvenient. I stared at his back in the dark and told myself a story because it was less painful than the truth. He's stressed. He's scared. He's under pressure. I didn't know I was comforting myself while he was already halfway out the door. It was a Tuesday afternoon in month 8 when my doctor appointment happened, the one where everything looked good. The baby was healthy, strong heartbeat, normal measurements. I was so relieved I almost cried. I left the clinic clutching fresh ultrasound pictures like they were proof that something in my life was still safe. Jake had taken the car to work, so I rode the bus home. The bus smelled like rain and someone's cheap cologne. I sat with my hand on my belly, whispering, "We're okay, Emma. We're okay." I didn't know I'd just said her name for the first time. When I got home, the lock turned too easily. The door swung open, and the first thing I noticed wasn't what I saw. It was what I heard. Nothing. No TV. No familiar hum, no life inside the apartment. Then my eyes adjusted, and the emptiness hit me like a punch. The couch, gone. The dining table, gone. The TV, gone. I walked room to room like my brain refused to accept what my eyes were reporting. In the bedroom, the closet looked gutted, half the clothes missing, drawers pulled open, his side cleared out like he'd never lived there. My heart pounded so hard it made my ears ring. In the kitchen, the envelope waited. My name on it. I opened it with hands that didn't feel like mine. The letter was calm, controlled, like it had been edited. He wrote that he had moved out, that he was living with someone else, that he wasn't ready to be a father, that he couldn't handle the responsibility. And then, as if he were listing groceries, he wrote, "Lisa," from his office, 4 months. I remember tasting metal in my mouth. 4 months meant he started sleeping with her when I was around month 4, right when his busy season began. My vision blurred. I reread the bottom. Divorce papers soon. No custody, no contact. No contact. Not I'm scared. Not I'm failing. Just I'm leaving and I'm not looking back. I sat on the floor of the empty living room with the letter in my lap and the ultrasound pictures beside me like 2 different lives had collided. One full of promise, one full of abandonment. I called his number. Disconnected. I went to his office the next day. He quit 2 weeks ago, the receptionist said, polite and blank. My stomach dropped. He hadn't just left. He'd planned it. While I was pregnant. While I was on bed rest. While I believed him. I didn't cry right away. Not the dramatic kind. I went into survival mode, the kind nurses get trained into without realizing. I checked my bank account. $800 in savings. 1 month of rent. Maybe. I stared at the number like if I looked long enough, it would change. Then I did the thing you're supposed to do when you're drowning. I called my parents. My dad answered first. "Dad," I said, and my voice cracked on the word like my body finally admitted it needed help. Jake left. There was a pause. Then my father exhaled, like I'd inconvenienced his day. "Men sometimes get scared when faced with big responsibilities," he said. "Maybe he'll come around." My mom took the phone. "Did you do something?" she asked immediately. "Were you fighting?" I remember blinking, stunned. Not because I expected them to praise me, but because I didn't expect the first question to be what I did wrong. "I'm 8 months pregnant," I said slowly. "He moved out while I was at a doctor appointment. Half the furniture is gone." My mom made a sound that wasn't sympathy. It was calculation. "Well," she said, "you did choose him." A week passed and reality turned brutal. Late notices, bills, a landlord who wanted rent on time even if my life was on fire. I called them again. This time I didn't try to sound strong. "I have no income," I said. "No savings. The baby is coming in 4 weeks. Please. Can I come home temporarily? Just until I recover and go back to work." My dad didn't hesitate. "No." It was so fast it felt rehearsed. "No," I repeated, like maybe I misheard. You made adult choices, he said. You handle adult consequences. My mom's voice softened, just enough to sound reasonable. Tom is in his final semester, she said. A crying baby will disturb his studies. My brother Tom, 25, still living at home, finishing engineering, accepted to grad school. His future was apparently too important to risk a newborn's existence. I begged, I negotiated, I humiliated myself. I'll stay in the basement, I promised. I'll do chores, I'll cook, I'll pay rent when I'm working again. Please. My mother's tone tightened. We've made our decision, she said. Maybe this will teach you to be more careful about who you marry. In the background, I heard Tom's presence. TV noise, a footstep, proof he was there. But he didn't take the phone. He didn't say, let her come. He didn't say, Mom, that's enough. He said nothing. And when I hung up, I realized something even more frightening than my husband leaving. I was about to become a mother in 4 weeks, and the people who were supposed to be my safety net had just looked me in the eye and told me they'd rather I fall. With nowhere else to go, I found the cheapest place I could, $400 a month. A tiny studio in a rough part of town, in an old building that smelled like damp carpet and fried food that never fully aired out. The neighbors were loud, walls thin, sirens at night like the city was warning me not to get comfortable. But it had heat and running water. I applied for government assistance with my pride in a pile on the floor beside me. Food stamps, Medicaid, forms that asked questions like, do you have family support? And made me want to scream. Then labor came. I went to the county hospital alone. No husband's hand to squeeze, no mother brushing hair off my forehead, no father waiting with coffee. Just me, in a hospital gown, trying not to panic as contractions tore through my body like waves. A nurse noticed I had no one listed as my support person. Are you sure? She asked gently. I swallowed. There's no one to call. Her eyes softened. She squeezed my shoulder like she wanted to replace an entire family with one small gesture. Emma arrived screaming, tiny, furious, alive. When they laid her on my chest, I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. Not because everything was okay, because for the first time in months, I felt something in my life that didn't abandon me. 2 days later, I carried my newborn into that studio apartment. I remember standing by the door with her car seat, staring at the dim light and thinking, this is not where I pictured bringing my baby home. Jake never came. Later I heard, through mutual friends, that he moved to another state with Lisa. The first year was the hardest time of my life. Emma barely slept. She cried in the kind of way that makes you feel helpless, like you're failing at motherhood in real time. I was healing from childbirth while learning how to keep a human alive with no backup. During her naps, I did online tutoring sessions for extra money. Some nights I fell asleep at my computer after working until 3:02 a.m., my forehead on the keyboard, waking up to the sound of Emma crying like she'd been alone for hours, when it was really minutes. My parents never called. No, how are you? No, did you eat? No, send a picture. No card when Emma was born. Nothing. It was like we didn't exist. And somehow that silence became its own kind of cruelty. Because it wasn't an accident. It was a choice. People love the word strong when it costs them nothing. I heard it later from my mother's email. They thought I was strong enough. But I remember what those nights actually looked like. Emma finally asleep, her tiny chest rising and falling in the dim light, and me sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall because if I lay down, my mind would start playing every humiliation on loop. Jake leaving. The letter. My dad saying adult consequences. My mom saying my baby would disrupt Tom's studies. I'd press my palm against my stomach, where my body was still tender, and whisper, I'm trying so hard. There were moments I hated myself for needing anyone, for missing my parents, for wishing someone would show up and say, you don't have to do this alone. Then guilt would follow immediately, sharp and vicious. They chose not to help. Don't beg for people who don't choose you. The turning point of survival wasn't one dramatic moment. It was repetition. Emma turned 1. I found a part-time nursing job at a clinic with childcare. The first day I dropped her off, she cried and grabbed my shirt, and I cried too, but I still walked away because the rent didn't care about my emotions. By her second birthday, I was full-time again. We moved to a safer apartment, better light, less noise. A neighborhood where I didn't flinch at every footstep outside my door. Emma started preschool. She made friends. I made friends. Other parents who brought snacks, who understood exhaustion, who didn't judge me for being alone. I got promoted to head nurse. Slowly, my life stopped being an emergency and started being a life. Emma was 4, about to start kindergarten. Smart, funny, obsessed with painting pictures that covered our fridge and the walls because I let her. We went to the zoo, the children's museum, weekend trips that weren't extravagant, but were ours. And the strangest part? Emma had never asked about her father or grandparents, because she didn't know they existed. Peace is fragile when you fought for it. And I didn't realize how protective I'd become of ours until the day my mom emailed me with the subject line, "Time to reconnect." I stared at my mom's email for a long time. She wrote that Tom had gotten married and moved across the country for his job. She wrote that she and my dad were lonely. She wrote that they'd been thinking about their mistakes. They wanted to meet Emma. They invited us for Thanksgiving. They'd pay for flights. She even mentioned setting up a college fund for Emma like money could sew a family back together. Part of me wanted to delete it and pretend I never saw it. Another part of me, quiet, wounded, wondered if Emma deserved grandparents. So I responded carefully, short, controlled. I need time. Emma's well-being is my priority. 2 days later, my mom sent a long email that made my hands shake with anger. It wasn't a real apology. It was a justification. They were trying to do what they thought was best. They thought I was strong enough. Helping me might have made me too dependent. I read it twice, then a third time, and the rage surprised me because it wasn't hot rage. It was cold, like something inside me finally stopped hoping. Then Tom called, the first time in 4 years. His voice was cautious, like he expected me to slam the door on him too. "Our parents said they're reconnecting with you," he said. "Is that true?" I told him everything. Not the polished version, the real version. Jake leaving, the letter, begging for help, being refused, giving birth alone, the studio apartment, the first year. Silence on the line. So long I thought he hung up. Then Tom exhaled, broken. "They lied to me," he said. He told me our parents had claimed I was being dramatic, that I refused their help because I wanted to prove I could do it alone, that I asked them for space. "I believe them," Tom admitted quietly, "because you were always stubborn, independent." It hit me like another betrayal, realizing they didn't just abandon me. They also protected themselves by rewriting the story for everyone else. Tom apologized, again and again. Then he told me the part that changed everything. "Our parents have been complaining to me for a year about being lonely," he said. "They expected me to call weekly, visit every holiday. But after I got married, boundaries happened. Sarah wanted holidays with her family too. And when Tom didn't perform the devoted child role the way they demanded, they accused him of abandoning them." Tom's voice hardened. "I think they're reaching out to you because they need someone to fill that role again," he said, "not because they suddenly became better people." That was the moment the puzzle clicked. They didn't miss me. They missed being needed. And Emma, my daughter, wasn't a granddaughter to them. She was a new supply line. After Tom's call, I replied again, slow, cautious, boundary first. "I need more time. Any relationship starts slowly. Emma comes first." My mom responded within hours, impatient now. She said I was being unfair, that they had a right to know their granddaughter, that holding grudges was unhealthy. Then she dropped the line that told me nothing had changed. They already told their friends and neighbors about reconnecting. It would be embarrassing if I refused. And then the threat. They were planning to drive down the following weekend whether I agreed or not. They did. I was getting Emma ready for the park when the knocking came, hard, urgent, entitled. I looked through the peephole and saw my mother and father with flowers and a wrapped gift, smiling like actors arriving on cue. I opened the door but kept the chain on. "We didn't invite you," I said. My mom started talking loudly, already trying to look past me into my home. "We just want to meet our granddaughter." Emma came to the door, curious, then froze when she saw strangers pushing energy into our space. My mom's face lit up like she'd won something. "Oh my gosh, look at you. What's your name? How old are you? You're beautiful." Emma hid behind my legs. My dad's voice sharpened. "You're being unreasonable." He said grandparents had rights. My mom pushed against the door. "I'm not leaving until I meet her properly." That was when I closed it, locked it. They knocked for 10 minutes, calling my name like they owned it. When they finally left, Emma clung to me all day. "Who were those people?" she asked. I told her a softer truth. People I used to know, confused about whether they were invited. That night Tom called, furious. Our parents had already called him, playing victim. Tom confronted them in person, told them he knew the truth, told them their story was a lie. They accused me of manipulating him. They cried, they demanded. And 2 days later, my mom emailed me again, nastier. She accused me of using Emma as a weapon. She threatened legal options for grandparent visitation. Tom hit his limit. He told them he was done until they could treat both of us with respect. I sent one final email to my parents. Their unannounced visit proved they didn't respect boundaries. Any attempt to contact us again would result in police involvement. If they ever wanted a relationship in the future, it would require full accountability. Then I blocked them. Tom visited the next weekend. He brought Emma watercolor paints and asked her to teach him how to paint flowers. She warmed up to him fast, because healthy love feels safe. Months later, Emma and I visited Tom and his wife Sarah in Seattle. Emma adored them. Sarah, a teacher, connected with her over books and art. Our parents tried contacting Tom for photos. He ignored them. Then the incident that chilled my blood. Emma's preschool called. An older couple came asking about her schedule, claiming to be her grandparents. The director refused and asked them to leave. I called Tom. He confronted our parents. They denied it, then admitted it. Tom threatened a restraining order. After that, silence. Then Jake, my ex-husband, reached out through a mutual friend, suddenly interested in being part of Emma's life. I said no direct access. If he was serious, he could go through legal channels, prove stability, and take full responsibility for abandoning us. He disappeared again. And in that silence, I understood something I wish I'd learned sooner. People who leave you in your worst moment don't get to re-enter your life when it becomes convenient. This year, Emma and I are spending Christmas in Seattle with Tom and Sarah. Emma is excited about snow and baking cookies with Sarah. She keeps talking about writing letters to them from kindergarten, telling them about her teacher and the stories she's learning to read. Tom wants to start a tradition. The four of us, holidays together. A chosen family. Not perfect, not big, but real. Sometimes I think back to the version of me on the floor of that empty apartment, 8 months pregnant, holding Jake's letter like it was a death certificate. I remember the fear, how it sat in my ribs. I remember the shame of begging my parents and being told no. I remember how adult consequences sounded like permission for cruelty. And then I look at my life now. A stable job, a home filled with my daughter's paintings, friends who show up, a brother who finally sees the truth and chooses to be better than what we were raised with. My parents had multiple chances to change their approach. They didn't. They chose pressure, manipulation, entitlement. They tried to turn my child into a way back into control. And I chose something else. I chose peace. Here's what I've learned, and what I wish every woman who's ever been abandoned needed to hear. Boundaries are not revenge. They're protection. An apology that explains itself isn't an apology. Family is not who shares your blood. Family is who shares your burden. Your child doesn't need more relatives. Your child needs safe relationships. Emma will grow up knowing love that doesn't come with threats. And maybe one day, if my parents ever become people who can respect boundaries and take accountability, I'll revisit the idea. But until then, I won't trade my daughter's safety for someone else's loneliness. Because the peace we built wasn't given to us. We fought for it.